Hey people of the internet, Loypower here, and as you know it, I'm a gamer. As I can guess, you're a gamer. And I'm gonna assume that 75% of you play on console. And I'm gonna assume 90% of that percentage that plays on console plays on controller. And I'm gonna assume that 50% of that 90% plays with bad aim. And all that assumption aside, now, let me explain why I'm making this video. So, recently I've been seeing a lot of gamers on controller and console struggling to hit their shots. And before I get into this, I'm just gonna say this: my aim is not the best, but my aim is not the worst. I can hit my shots pretty well. Now, if you want to get good at playing on controller, you gotta get 3 key things down: aim, positioning, and mechanics. Now, all those are very important, and you could say that they can be clumped up into one thing of mechanics, but in my head I have them split up so I can practice them each at a time. All of these skills, by the way, you can translate from game to game to game. Every single FPS, TPS, every single type of game you play that requires aim, mechanics, and positioning, this will help you in. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is aim. Now, on controller, your aim pattern's restricted, and so you can only move in that small area that you have. And the thumbstick kind of messes up the way your thumb naturally moves, and so you got to be really coordinated to hit your shots. And so to get the best accuracy, the way I practice is, imagine it like this. So you're aiming, but you can only aim in the x-axis and the y-axis, no diagonal. Alright, just practice that. Just by practicing that, you automatically get good at both of those axes, and when you combine those 2 axes, then you get a smooth diagonal. You can predict where your thing is moving. It's an ingenious way of getting your aim good in every single game. By practicing both of those and then combining them, you can line up your shots by just combining them. It's quite simple, honestly. And after a certain amount of time, you can turn your thumbstick into a mouse. Like, you can hit flick shots just by predicting. It just takes a little getting used to. After like a week of practice, you will be hitting every single headshot in every single game you play. If you aren't hitting every headshot after practicing this for a week, then you're allowed to dislike my video. Now, aim alone won't get you anywhere, especially on controller. Even if, let's say, you don't get that good aim I was talking about, then another way you can benefit is positioning. Now, what I usually do is I go for peaks. I position so that my head is peeking, but in a way that they can't hit a headshot. They're gonna hit a chest shot. You kind of have to go for that, because imagine this. I've been gaming for a while and I learned this. So your player model, like your perspective, is on your chest, right? And so if you get headshotted, you're not gonna be hit in the head. You're gonna be hit. Well, you're not gonna be hit in your perspective. You're gonna be hit above your perspective, right? And so what I benefited from learning that is, if there are small gaps, then you can position your perspective so that you're peeking that gap, but you're not positioning your head so you're peeking that gap, so you're able to shoot the shot, and the best your enemy can do is a body shot, right? That's one thing of positioning, and it's best for FPS games. Another thing of positioning is, if you're playing third-person shooters, then right-hand peeks, alright? In a game like Fortnite, let's say, you have to have good right-hand peeks. You have to make good, smart edits so that you're peeking, but your enemy is not peeking in really short successions. And what happens when you do that? You can't be hit. But what can you do? You can hit. Sorry for that voice crack. And after I did that, after I started using those 2 things, it actually really helped. And fun fact, actually, depending on in first-person shooter games, depending on where your gun is, you can actually set up a right-hand peek or a left-hand peek. It's weird, but your gun is technically peeking, but without you peeking, so you can shoot. It depends on what game. I specifically kind of abuse that in Overwatch. Not even pros know about that. I think that it's more of a glitch, honestly, because nobody talks about it. Now, the final thing I'm going to be talking about is mechanics. Now, mechanics is not really a thing like you can just explain to somebody that would translate from every single game. It's more something that you have to practice from every single game, but you can kind of combine them, because here's how it goes. Your aim is your first mechanic that you have to master, then your positioning and your controls are the two other mechanics that you have to master, and then finally, the thing that you're supposed to do in the game is what you master. That's how you get good at gaming. It's a mindset that not too many people use, but if you learn how to do all of those things in that order specifically that I just listed, aim, then positioning, then controls, then everything else, then you're going to be a good player. Let's say you're playing a game like Overwatch. First of all, you got to be hitting your shots, then you have to have good placement, like your positioning, then you have to know the controls, right? So that like you can do stuff in quick successions, and then you have to know the abilities you have, right? If you know your abilities but you have garbage aim, you won't be using those abilities well. If you know your abilities but you have garbage placements and positioning, then you won't be using that because people can just get you really easily. You don't have time to use them, right? You have to practice them in that order in every single game and watch. All right, your mechanics are your mechanics are more like what you got to focus on to improve, but you got to focus on them in that sort of order. All right. Anyways, guys, to end this all up, I'm not an esports pro. I probably won't be an esports pro. I'm not gonna try to be an esports pro unless I manage to just go nuts. But that's how I improve in games. No matter how new to a game I am, when I do that, within weeks I'm already leagues ahead of the people that told me to start playing. I'm just kidding, by the way. But I catch up to, and well, that's how I improve in most games. And I hope that what I use to improve helps you guys improve later on in your life. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment what your favorite game is, and well, that's it. See ya.